Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Dipankar, and today in this video we are going to talk about how we can use an LWC inside a flow. I hope you have watched my previous two videos in which we have configured this discovery framework and OmniScripts, and we are also able to pre-fill the OmniScript, and we are also getting the OmniScripts responses using an invocable action into the flow. Okay, so and in the flow, based on the response we are getting it, we are able to iterate them and display them over here stepwise and the question and responses. This is for, let's say, this is for one assessment, and if we go to the next assessment, let's say I will go to another record. It gives me the responses based on the data that are present in the related assessment response questions. Okay, so this has four questions, so that means it gives me the four questions with their answers and the step name. So basically this is what we are going to configure today. Okay, now what we can do over here, so this is an flow that we have built over here. So let me go to setup, and then let me go to flow, and from the flows we have the display assessment summary in record place. Okay, now let's try to remove this particular LWC from here. Okay, and we will create a new LWC from scratch, and we will see how to build this and how to make sure that we are making the responses dynamic so that it can be used in any assessment record with any OmniScript. So for that, the first thing I need to do is to bring a display text. I'll write display summary in text. Okay, so and we'll fill with the assessment record. We'll save it as a new version. We'll click on save. Then what we are going to do, we are going to come over here, take this record ID, and then first try to debug it. Okay, so if I try to run it, debug it, this is what we are getting. The response that we are getting is in JSON format. We need to traverse through it, and we will need to figure out how we can make the data dynamic to be able to render them inside LWC. So these are two steps. We come to the JSON editor, we paste it over here, and we'll make it as a tree. Okay, so you have tree, and we'll transform them. Let me try transfer on, let me try to, okay, so table mode is not possible, that's fine. So now let me try to bring the inspector over here. Now let me copy this entire thing, and let me just create a variable. So why we are doing over here is that first we will understand the concept, then we'll take it into our Salesforce LWC, and we'll create the LWC and make it dynamic. So we have data. Okay, so first thing that we need to know is the OmniScript name, because for multiple assessments that can be related to different OmniScripts. The OmniScript names should not be same. I mean, they can be same, but they can be different as well. So I'll write OmniScript name. And how we'll get the OmniScript name? We have something called object. So this is an object, and we'll retrieve all the keys from the data, and since this will give us an array, we'll write 0. And then let's first try to log the consoles dot log OmniScript name. Okay, now I'll hit enter, return. Okay, so giving error. So now the OmniScript name is demo discovery framework. The second thing, from this name, what do we need to get is the steps. Okay, so now we'll create a variable, we'll write steps equals to object. Similarly, object dot keys of data of OmniScript name, and from OmniScript name it will give us the keys, gives us the steps. So again, let's console dot log steps. Okay, now we have two steps. Now what we can do, we'll iterate through the steps. Okay, now we'll write steps equals to, for each step we'll iterate it. Okay, and this iteration, it will give us the step. For each step, what we are going to do, each step we will return data omniscript of name, okay, of step. So it can be done in a single line, but I am just doing in multiple lines just to make the thing simple. So now we have steps in an string. Now if I hit enter, it will be in an object. So we have array with two objects. We have label and value. Okay, let me hit enter again. So we have omniscript and we have steps. Then what I can do, again we'll write steps equals to steps dot map. Okay, and then for each step, okay, then for each step what we are going to do, we are going to return two things. We will return an object with label, label being the data of omniscript step, and from step we will get the label. Okay, so we will write label. Similarly, what we can get, we can also write value. Okay, instead, in place of value, here we can replace as value. But if you notice, it will give the same result because it has label and value. Then why I am doing this? Let me just write this. Okay, it is giving me error. Return this, then this. Missing this after argument list. Step.map. Let me do one thing. I'll again remove everything from here. Okay, steps.map. We'll write here, and here we'll again give the comma, and here we'll return this. Let me hit enter. So cannot read properties of undefined reading level. So it says for each step data of omniscript name. Okay, so we don't need to do like this. We'll just write step because we are already getting it. We'll write step dot level and we'll write step dot value. Okay, we'll hit enter. Let me try to hit enter again. Now we are getting two steps with level and value. But for this value, if I scroll, this value is again an object, right? So we have to remove it. What we can do, we can let me create a keys. Okay, so in keys we will get step of value. Okay, so we'll get step of value of map. Then for each key, whatever the key that we are getting, okay, first let me console.log the key. Okay, console.log key. Okay, step.value is not an array. So again we have to do something like object.keys. Object.keys of step.value, and then we'll console.log key, and we'll just write something like this. We'll write key, give a comma, and we'll again write the same thing. So if you see, we have the multiple keys over here. Okay, now what we are going to do, for each keys we are going to get the data. Okay, now what we are going to return, let's say we'll return question. The question will be step of value. Okay, step of value will take us to this node, and if we write step of value of key, this will take us to this application review. And then for key, then we have to get the label, and we will get the response. Similarly, value. Okay, then I will clear the console and I'll hit enter. So now we have the keys. Okay, now what we can do, we'll replace the step of value with the keys. Now we are getting state 0, then value. Similarly, what we are getting earlier. Let me try to hit enter. Once I write this, in the value, now we are getting array. Okay, we are getting question response. Let me try to create an key, and in key we'll write the key, or we'll write unique key. Unique key will be the name of the key. Okay, now I'll remove the console log from here and let's hit enter. Now if we come to here, we'll have label, value, and we have unique key, the question and response. So this is what we are getting in sort. Now we will take this into the LWC and we'll create the LWC and configure it in such a way that it will take the input from the flow and display the output. Okay, now to do that, let me come to here. Let's say this page, we can use the Lightning Studio inspector. We can create a new Lightning web component. We'll rename it as display assessment response in flow. Okay, and for the master level, we'll just give the same name, and we can expose this, and to be able to use it inside Lightning flow screen, we can configure as Lightning flow screen. And once I click on deploy, if we come to the meta XML, okay, so if you come to the meta XML over here, you can see is exposed and the target is configured. Now the second thing that we need to give is we have to create target configs. Okay, so we have target configs. We can have multiple target configs, like we can have multiple targets, and inside the target configs we can have individual target config. Okay, so we can write target config, and let's say this is an target config, and for each target config we can give it as a property. Okay, so the property can be, let me go through the documentation. The first thing that we need to do even before property is to set the target. So the target over here is Lightning flow screen. Okay, so we can give the target as Lightning flow screen, and inside flow screen what we are going to get as input. So each input will be a property. Okay, and this property will be associated with a name, and the name, let's make it as response, and then give it as a label. I'll name it as assessment response, and we'll give the same as a value or description as well. Okay, so give the description as assessment response over here as well. And since we have created this property should be present somewhere. To be able to make this property present, what we can do, we'll import API decorator. We'll write @API and write this property name. Okay, now we have the property. Now let's go to this flow. We have the response, we have the label, we have the description. The important thing to notice over here is the type. Okay, so what is the type of input? Let's say, I mean, for now what we are getting over here is an object, right? It looks like a JSON object, but if we write object over here, it will give us error. Property, okay, property has not been terminated. That's fine. I'll just terminate it. So it says target config does not support the target attribute. Okay, instead of object, what we can write? We can write it string. Target, okay, so I think target config tag does not support the target. Okay, so that is not target, so that is targets. But before that, let me make it as object. So now it says the type object is either not supported by lightning flow screen or does not exist. That means it is not supported, so you have to make it as a string. Now we have it. Next thing is to just render a LWC card. Okay, just to make sure that we have it. So what we can do, we'll remove everything. We'll give the title as hello, or maybe a response, and we'll edit it. Click on save. Now let's do one thing. Let's come back to this flow. This is your version 2. Okay, and here we'll come to this page and we'll try to see if the flow or if the LWC is present over here or not. So we have given the name display assessment response in flow. We'll click search over here. So it's present. That means we are able to drag it as well. So we'll give the same thing, display assessment response in flow, response in flow. Okay, so the response that we can pass is the output response summary that we are passing it from here. Okay, now we'll click on done. Let me do one thing. We'll remove this previous component, we'll delete it, click on done, we'll click on save, and we'll click on debug. Okay, so in debug, let me give you the same ID. So we'll pass the record ID. Now it will not display anything. Okay, so this is just blank. The next thing over here is to see how we can use this reusable thing that we have built over here. So we'll copy from line number 3 to 20. Why? Because the data is something that is coming dynamically into LWC. We don't need to hard code it like this. Rest of the things we can reuse it. Okay, and let's come back to our JavaScript. We have the response. Okay, so for this response, what we can do, we can create getter and setter. Let me write the set response first, because setter will take the value. Okay, it can be any variable name, but I'm writing its value. Inside value, I'll paste everything and I'll just format it. So this is value, and the thing is it needs data. So that means what we can do, we'll write data equals to, the value is coming in string, right? That means we have to parse it. We can parse it using json.parse of value. And again, whatever we have over here, it is steps, right? So that means we'll return step, but setter does not support return. So what we can do, we'll create a private variable. We'll name it as response. Okay, and what we'll do, we'll write this dot response equal to steps. So we have set the response over here. Now since we have created a setter, what we can do, we have to create a getter with the response. Okay, and in this response we will return this dot response, because the steps that we are computed over here, we are having we are storing it inside response, and we'll just return this response. Okay, now let me hit on save. Now what we can do over here, let me come to this. Now let me create a div. Okay, so we can write a class uh, div. It's, I don't know why it's not supporting, but that's fine. We'll write div. We'll also close it. Inside div, first thing we need to figure out is we will show this screen only if the response is present, because if the response is not present and we are iterating over here, it will get error in the LWC, and that will be like some generic error. So we'll write LWC, or maybe we can write if true, whatever, I mean according to your reference you can write, and if the response is present. Okay, and similarly we can give some classes like SLDS padding horizontal, then we will give a small padding to it. So if the response is present, then we will write a template, then for each we'll iterate over here, we'll iterate for each response and for each item. Okay, so the response is nothing but the steps, so that's why I'm writing for each item step. So again we have to close the template, and then we can write a div. Okay, then again we have to close it. So what we can do, div will write key. So the key equals to step what we have over here. Okay, so this step will have level, right? Step dot level, and then what we can do, we'll write a paragraph, or we can even without writing anything, we can just, even if we write over here something like same thing, step dot level, it will show the response over here as well. Okay, so let's give some classes like similarly we'll give some horizontal padding. Then okay, so I think this is a typo mistake, horizontal, it's not horizontal, it's horizontal small. I'll paste it over here, and we'll give something like SLDX text heading large. Okay, so we are up to here, so let's do one thing, we'll iterate over here, and what we can do, we have the response over here, we'll see even if we are getting the step names over here as well or not. Okay, so I'll just refresh this with the record ID. So we are getting step 1 and step 2. Next thing to notice over here, that we want to iterate over each keys. Okay, so let's come back. So basically for each we have step dot level and we have step dot value. Similarly what we can do, we can just copy the same thing, or let me just write it. We'll write template for each step dot value, will for item we'll write it as a data, or maybe we can write it as detail. So for each detail we have in step, what we can do, we'll write a div. In the div we have to give a key, right? So what is the key? So key equal, okay, so this is key, and the key that we have over here, we can give the key as unique key. So we'll write detail dot unique key. Then what we can do, we'll write two p tags, it's p in small lowercase, and we'll end it, and here we'll do the same thing, like we'll give the, instead of detail dot unique key, I think it's question, let me just verify it, this question and response. Okay, so we have detail, and we can also do one thing, we can give it some padding, and let's say class. So slds padding around, we'll give it small padding, and we'll give some text. Okay, so this was text heading large, we'll give text heading medium, and we'll do the same thing for the response as well. Okay, so we can add another like something sldx text color weak, and instead of heading can we give something like text body, or maybe heading medium. Let's change this to text heading small. So we have it, and let's come back and we'll see whether we're getting the expected result or not. So what I can do, we can come to over here, we'll click on, okay, so we have to refresh it just to make sure that the LWC renders. We'll click on run. Now you see the step and its details are getting pre-filled. I think there is some issue with the padding, SLDS padding around small, padding horizontal. Instead of padding around, I think can we give something like padding left? Okay, so let me write padding horizontal. I'll do one thing. I'll write SLDS padding left. Let me give medium padding, and padding around. So the thing is that we are almost done. So we can just simply decorate it as per the business use cases. So if the business wants you to decorate, you can even make it as an accordion. You can do whatever you want to do over here. We'll just hit it as save. The only thing to notice that we have step, we have the question, and we have the responses that are getting rendered dynamically. Okay, so and I'll hit again. We'll click on run. So you have the response, we have the step. Okay, so I think the classes are not working as expected. Let me do one thing. Padding left, I'll give the same class. Okay, so whatever the class we have for the key, let me give the class over here directly, and let me refresh it. I'll refresh it with the ID that I have, and I'll hit and run. So now there is some padding, that means it's understandable. Now we have the assessment, right? We have the assessment over here, and here it looks like text color is weak, something different. The title is assessment response. Once we activate this one, we'll see something different. Instead of assessment response, it will be response. Okay, so now we have response, we have step, and we have step 2, and this is how it works basically. And if we come to the other page and the response, we get something else, and if we get to third one, we get something else. So basic questionnaire is a step name. We have 4 questions, and these 4 questions we can see over here in the related list as assessment question responses. So this is in short how we can get the data of assessment response using an invocable action, and display it inside an LWC in formatted way. Okay, so this is all about this video, and thank you for watching.